Hello guys and welcome to the Los Blancos podcast. Today we'll be discussing our Real Madrid 11s, best ever, greatest ever 11s. Also, we'll be rating transfer rumours and we'll be discussing Mbappe's transfer. Join us after this short interview, me and Sean. Let's get right into this. Okay, so we're going to start with the 11. What formation have you gone for?
Actually, I'm going with a 4-2-3-1, and that's because I want each player to have an opportunity to have a chance at making the 11. A centre attacking midfielder, a centre defensive midfielder, and maybe a centre midfielder or a box-to-box player to give each player a chance to make it to the 11.
Yep, I've gone for a 4-3-3 classic formation. Dutch invented it, and it's just a classic Real Madrid formation. So, goalkeeper, I assume you've got Iker Casillas.
Yes, of course, Iker Casillas. I don't think there's anyone else I can choose. Despite how good Navas and Koza have been over the last 10 years, no one else I can choose.
Yeah, I've gone for Iker Casillas, of course, as well. I mean, there's no deliberation. Greatest goalkeeper of all time. And been so instrumental in our successes over the last 20 years. Right back, who have you gone for?
Sure, give it that. Actually, surprisingly, I've gone for Sergio Ramos as our fullback.
Oh, so you've gone for old Sergio Ramos at right back. Can you tell us why?
Yes, okay. So I decided that because I'm picking my level over the past 20 years, I had to look at Salgado and Carvajal Arbeloa. And I think to myself, the way they played actually, that if I look at Sergio Ramos at fullback, maybe in 2010, 2011, even 2012 when he came, actually he was so good at fullback that I just think that maybe he could have been a good option at fullback throughout his career. And I also wanted to choose my two centre-backs as well, so I'll get to that shortly. Having a look at Carvajal and Salgado, especially Carvajal. Carvajal was so good for us. However, there are many injuries, that maybe stopped him from achieving his full potential.
Yeah.
Despite how good he was, I think that there were some games maybe where Carvajal was a liability for us. So, although Sergio Ramos had his flaws at fullback, I just think I would have to go with Sergio Ramos because of the liabilities of Carvajal and maybe Salgado to his latter years, and Arbeloa as well.
Yep. I've gone for Michel Salgado, as you mentioned earlier. He was so reliable over the years. Obviously, right back hasn't been one of our more known positions, but, it's proved to be solid players like Carvajal, Arbeloa, Salgado, Chendo in the 90s. So there's been solid players, but they've never been like a proper world-class player, I'd say. Salgado, I think, is the best of those. I thought about Ramos at right back, but I chose not to because I think the two players I'm going to pick the player I'm going to pick next to him, I think there's not going to be a player as good as Ramos in centre back. So I've gone for Salgado at right back. Who have you gone for at centre back?
Okay, actually, surprisingly, I've gone for Fernando Hierro at centre back.
Yeah. So I've gone for Hierro as well.
Okay.
And I've gone for Ramos as well, obviously, next to him. I mean, those two, I don't think they played together. They might have, actually. I think they...
Actually, I think Hierro left... I think he left in 2003, and Sergio came in.
Okay, so yeah, they wouldn't have played together. But these two are the greatest centre-backs in the history of Real Madrid, unless there's some guy in the 50s that we probably have never seen play. Most people have never seen play. But these two, in modern history, have been the best centre-backs for Real Madrid, and I don't think there is anybody else that could be better than them. Who else have you put in a centre-back?
I've also got Rafael Varane actually at centre-back, the partner here. And actually, I was thinking to put Sergio Ramos at centre-back with here, just like you did. But it was a toss-up between Carvajal and Varane. And I decided that Varane was better than Carvajal for Real Madrid. So I decided to put Varane into my 11 and shift Sergio to the fullback.
Yep. No thinking about Pepe.
I did think about Pepe actually, but however, when I looked at Pepe and Varane, actually Pep Varane won more titles than Pepe actually. I think he was more important in the last 10 years. Despite Pepe's importance with his leadership, his legacy at Madrid, I just think that there were some times like when he was questioned maybe for his attitude, his discipline. Despite how good he was, I just have to put Varane over Pepe.
Okay. So left back, it's a toss up between two, in my opinion. Roberto Carlos and the person
Yes, I think I'm going to
I've put Marcelo. Have you gone for Roberto Carlos?
Actually, I've gone for Marcelo as well. Actually,
Okay.
Despite the last 2 years, I've gone for Marcelo.
I think Roberto Carlos in overall, I think he's a better player, but for Real Madrid, there's no questioning how good Marcelo has been for Real Madrid over the years, scoring so many important goals, being that partner to Ronaldo, that like Dani Alves is to Messi, it was fantastic during his best years, and he was just a joy to watch for Brazil and for Real Madrid. So
yes, I can't argue with that. I have to go with Marcelo as well.
Yeah, Roberto Carlos, obviously fantastic player. Like to watch, he was just one of the greatest ever. But for Real Madrid, it has to be Marcelo, and it can't be anyone else.
Yes, actually, he's so fluid on the ball as well, which helps our progression in possession. So I have to go with Marcelo.
Yeah. For your two central midfielders, who have you gone for?
Okay, and like I said, actually went over the last 20 years, so there was a lot of options for me.
Yeah.
So surprisingly, I'm sure, of course, even I went to Toni Kroos and Luka Modric as our two centre midfielders.
I've gone for Modric and Zidane. It was really really hard to pick between Zidane and Kroos. Sorry.
Actually, I did think about Casemiro, Xabi Alonso, etc. But I'm going to Kroos and Modric. Despite how good Xabi Alonso was, I was thinking to myself that Toni Kroos and Luka Modric had more success with Real Madrid over Alonso. I just think they had more important games, which they were better in. So that's why I went with those two players.
Yeah, I've gone for Zidane. I mean, obviously the Champions League final goal against Leverkusen, that's enough to get him into the team. I mean, it was just amazing. And I was not there to experience it, but I'm sure for all the Madrid fans out there, it was sensational to experience it live. Modric, Ballon d'Or winner, and over the last 8 years that he's been, 9 years actually, he joined in 2012. Over the last 9 years he was here, he's been sensational. Obviously being called the worst signing of the season in 2012, that must have put him down, but after that it's been world-class season after world-class season. So that's why I've put Modric in.
Yes, actually, I think that's a good point, actually, because Modric's, actually, he wasn't playing that badly. I just think they expected more out of him, and he wasn't starting, because I think Jose had Xabi and Sami Khedira playing in those centre positions. But I think after that being labelled the worst signing in January, I just think he kick-started so well after that.
Yeah. Attacking midfielder, who have you gone for?
I've actually gone for Zidane as our attacking midfielder.
Okay.
Actually.
I've gone for Raul at attacking midfielder. There's so much attacking talent that I had to put him at attacking midfielder.
Okay, I've actually seen that a few times, so I can't blame you for having that option.
Obviously, Raul scored so many goals over the years for Real Madrid, being an icon. Came from Atletico Madrid's youth team, and he was an Atletico Madrid supporter. But I'm sure after all these years he spent with us, he's probably a Real Madrid supporter at this stage. He's been an icon of the club, and he deserves the shout for the greatest ever player in the history of Real Madrid. Before Ronaldo took the record off of him, he was the record goal scorer, and he was just absolutely fantastic. Why do you pick Zidane at attacking midfielder?
Actually, because I don't think that there were any other better playing attacking midfielders at Madrid. Of course, there are Guti, who maybe could have played deeper as well. There were Isco, James Rodriguez. But I think with Isco, James, Guti, I just think they were players who maybe shine like for one season or maybe shine for like 20 games, 10 games, and maybe didn't kick on and had the legacy that Zidane had. I just don't think that there are any other attacking midfielders who are better than Zidane and contributed a lot to Real Madrid and played so well for us. So I don't think I have any doubts in putting Zidane in attacking midfield as well.
Yep, with
And of course,
Guti,
that's his best position.
I find it really fascinating how he never got to his real potential, which was so high. He could have been alongside Xavi and Iniesta, but he never got to that stage because of the Galacticos. I mean, he kept on playing out of position, and if he was in the modern era, I think he could have been like one of those greatest ever midfielders. He just came alongside Zidane and all those players that just wouldn't. He couldn't get the game time in the correct positions.
Yes, of course. Actually, he had some time playing as a striker as well. So
Yeah. No Ozil? No consideration for him?
actually, Ozil only spent like 3 years at Madrid.
Yeah.
So I don't think that was enough time to consider him as part of our 11.
Yeah, Ozil's 3 years at Real Madrid were fantastic, and if he spent more, I think he would have been definitely a candidate for this team. But I don't think he deserves it right now.
Yes, this time was limited as well.
Yep. Left wing, I assume we've both got the same one here. Cristiano.
Yes, of course.
Cristiano. There's no deliberation here. In my opinion, the greatest ever player that's played for Real Madrid. There's nothing else to say, really, about Ronaldo.
Yeah, there's not much to say. Team top scorer. I just think a player like him, he's a guy you look to. Even when he has a bad game, he's a guy you're still going to look to score the goal, and that says something, So the team top scorer, I just think he was our best player since he came in 2009. Even when he not struggled, but the team wasn't having much success at the start, he was playing so well. I just can't. The way how he scored all those goals in less than 10 years, that just makes it even better.
Yeah, and in some performances, he dragged the team to Champions League quarterfinals and semi-finals. Wolfsburg, Atletico Madrid, so many great performances for us in the Champions League.
Yeah.
He is the greatest ever player of all time, in my opinion.
Yes, of course, and just of him and what he comes with, actually, because when you hear the name Cristiano Ronaldo, maybe 4 years ago, you're thinking Real Madrid, you're thinking big Champions League nights. It just gives you so much good moments and goosebumps whenever you see him walking out to the Champions League anthem, or when he scores a goal, actually, and there's no one else I can pick.
Yeah. Right wing. This was quite tough. Who have you gone for?
Okay, there were so many options for me. Actually, I was thinking Figo. Actually, Di Maria was decent first, but I've gone for Bale. Actually.
Oh, that's going to be a controversial one because many Madristas, including me, over the years have not liked him that much. I mean, there's no deliberation about it. He was a fantastic player. I particularly didn't like his attitude towards Real Madrid. I've gone for an ancient player in Paco Gento, who was at the time one of our key players in 1950 Real Madrid. Obviously, his nephew, his great nephew, is Marcos Llorente, who's the Atletico.
Oh yes, after that.
Yeah, so Paco Gento, I haven't got many stats about him, but he was just, from like a lot of accounts, he was a joy to watch, and next to Puskas and Di Stefano, he was brilliant.
Actually, I have to agree with you. I'm sure that he was the guy who assisted and contributed to our success as well. But I don't think I've seen him play as frequently and full matches, like I did with Bale or Figo and over the last 20 years of Di Maria. So that's why I went for Bale. As someone I've seen play. I don't think that Bale is like Ronaldo, who maybe had that same aura, but I just think he is the guy who can contribute to a lot of goals as well, important goals as well, like in the Champions League final. He was that player who could have scored a goal out of nothing, a header or a shot from distance, or maybe dribble past 4 players and score. Not dribble, well, he had the speed actually, so I wouldn't say dribble, but he was such a good player for us, important goals.
Yeah, with Di Maria, I think he had a couple of good seasons, but then in the 13-14 season, he absolutely exploded. I think it was 27 assists across the whole season, and that was it was absolutely fantastic. I still don't understand why we sold him to Manchester United, where he did really poorly. I mean, it wasn't even that bad at Manchester United. He never settled.
Actually, we sold him to balance the books because that year we bought Toni Kroos and James.
Yeah, so, I just felt like we could have sold some other players instead rather than Di Maria, because Di Maria was just sensational the season before. He was just a bit. He wasn't the guy you should have been looking to sell.
Well, actually, I don't think there were anyone else who could have bring in that market value at Madrid, because the season he had, I'm sure Madrid knew that they would have been able to get 60 million for him. So I think that's the purpose they sold.
Yeah, the price tag was completely fine. At that time, it was a hefty price tag, but I just know he could have contributed to that season, and he could have definitely got us the league title, which we should have had by the end of the season.
Yes, actually, I thought so as well, because the team was so tired that year. We actually faltered at the end, so I understand your point.
Yeah. Up front, who have you gone for?
I'm going for Rahul. I think you're going for Benzema. Are you?
No, I'm going for Di Stefano.
Oh, actually, okay, I understand.
Yeah, that's obviously good. You've gone for team over the last 20 years, so Di Stefano wasn't really in consideration, but one of the greatest goal scorers for Real Madrid and revolutionised the club, changing the identity from just another team dominating the league to Galacticos buying the best players, being the best team in the world. So Di Stefano changed the team.
Did you consider Puskas?
I did, but it was just, in my opinion, Di Stefano brought more to Real Madrid than Puskas, and Puskas was a fantastic player, but I thought more Di Stefano than Puskas. What about Raul? Why'd you pick Raul up front?
Rahul is either Rahul or Benzema. And despite Benzema playing so well over the last 3 years, so far, maybe in 5 years, maybe I would have picked Benzema, but Rahul had more longevity in terms of his success. Despite he slowed down in his latter years, which is understandable. I just think, top goal scorer, sometimes he was the guy we looked to get the goals, and such amazing goals as well, amazing first touch as well. I just think I have to go for Rahul because he knew how to find the back of the net.
Yeah.
Although Benzema is starting to develop that trait, like he's such a more deadly striker over the past 2 years, I just think I have to go for Rahul because of his legacy with the club.
Yeah, obviously one of the greatest ever players, and I don't think Benzema's reached that level yet, but he's on his way. If he continues these seasons, he's definitely on his way to becoming that greatest ever player.
Yes, of course, because Rahul actually slowed down when he got into his 30s, and Benzema just keep getting better. Yeah. So maybe in 2 years, maybe I could say Benzema, but for now I have to say Rahul. But do you think that Benzema would have a chance at being our top goal scorer had Cristiano not been in our squad?
I mean, it's a tough one really, but I don't think, over the years, Benzema's obviously adapted to the way Cristiano's played, and that's been a key part of his game. But because it wasn't like Benzema when he got his chances, he did miss them when he was with Cristiano, and he wasn't the most clinical guy, so I'm not sure he would have.
Also down to confidence as well, because we've seen how he takes chances now. Despite he misses some, he's just more confident about, because he knows he's a team's main goal scorer.
Yeah.
So he's more confident when he has these chances.
Yeah, he knows that if he doesn't score, the team probably will lose or draw. They will drop points, and that probably spurs him on to go get those goals.
Yes, actually, because in the past he knew that he wasn't the main guy. So he was being booed and he didn't have his confidence up, because when Ronaldo left, I know many of us were saying Asensio and Bale can take over the team, but Benzema did, and he's our main guy.
Yep. So that's the end of this part of the podcast. We'll be moving on to Real Madrid's transfer rumours and rating them after this short interval. Okay, so here's the second part of the podcast. Now we're going to be talking about Real Madrid's transfer rumours, and we'll be rating them out of 10. Firstly, we have Diogo Dalot. Now, Man United fullback, last season played at AC Milan. He was all right. He was the backup to Davide Calabria, but he did well nonetheless. And we are looking like we will sell Odriozola. Would you like to see Diogo Dalot at Real Madrid?
Actually, I think he would be a fine addition, but with Dalot, I don't think he would get the game time he needs. And I don't think that maybe he would be good enough, or Ancelotti would trust him to be good enough to eventually replace Carvajal in the lineup, or battle with Carvajal. I think he'd be a good addition, but I don't think we need him because of the options we have at fullback.
Yeah, what you can see with Dalot is that he's a defensive titan. Mourinho obviously signed him at Man United, and you can see why, because he's done 10 defensive actions per game, which is fantastic for an AC Milan team that likes to dominate possession against the smaller teams. So he's obviously confident at just taking the ball and moving it on. He's obviously not that good at dribbling and getting up the field, but that is more like a Carvajal, and I think that could be useful next season if we're just looking to hold out games and just to waste a bit of time with the substitution.
Actually, I don't think he's that bad going forward, but he's not as good as other options in the world at the moment. I think he's quite young and he can develop that going forward. But I just think maybe at Madrid now you need to have, the game is so based on fullbacks, like a lot of our movement goes through the fullbacks and the wingers and the interchanges with the midfielders. I just think you have to be tough, a tough fullback to move forward.
Yeah, and also at right back, we've obviously got Carvajal, but we've also got Vasquez, and there are obviously rumours that Jules Koundé is going to be coming in. With Nacho already there as well, so there's a lot of right back players who could play there, and
yes, and of course.
Yeah, as well as left backs, yeah.
And if you want a defender to be solid at fullback, then you could always use Nacho or Koundé if we sign them. So Carvajal is solid as well, so I don't think we need him.
Yeah, we could talk about Diogo Dalot's versatility. He can also play at left back, but again, it works the same on the other side. We've got a lot of versatility, and we don't really need fullbacks at this point. And we're going to move on to another fullback now, which is Leo Spinazzola, who's had a fantastic Euros. I like him. What do you think about him?
Actually, he's injured for 5 to 6 months.
Yeah, that's really disappointing, which, because he's been one of the players of the tournament at the Euros.
Yeah, because he was playing so well. I think the thing about Real Madrid is that when I look back at the time we signed Danilo, I don't think we consider the players we have in the position. I just think if a player is playing well, we're going to go out and sign him. So,
yeah,
actually, I think
obviously the thing with Leo Spinazzola is that he can play left back, but he's right-footed, so he to the back of the end of the season we saw Zidane experimented with inverted wing backs, and having a good right foot as a left back is important in that role. And I think Spinazzola is perfect for that. At right, he could also play at right back, and he could play further up the field. And we know our troubles further up the field from wing players getting contribution out of the wing players, and he's definitely getting the contributions of a winger.
Okay. Actually, that's true, but I just think that maybe I think Alaba can be a better left back than him. Miguel can be a better left back than him. Mendy is better defensively than him. So despite how good he is going forward, I just think if we need like more attacking qualities from our fullback, I just think we can put Alaba there.
One thing you can say about him is that we struggle to, one thing we struggle to do is our fullbacks struggle to drive up the pitch themselves, and he completes 2.27 dribbles every game, which is fantastic, which could really help us drive up the field and start getting play out of those fullbacks. You know, Carvajal and Mendy are not that great they're not bad going forward, but they're not amazing going forward. And Spinazzola would give us that extra element and that extra help we could use towards the end of the game if we're chasing.
Do you think that he would like achieve all those stats and dribbling? Because however at Madrid, or like not in the past 5 years at Ronaldo, but now Vinicius job deep to pick up the ball, and Hazard job deep to pick up the ball, and they would do the dribbling as the fullbacks go up the pitch. So the fullbacks maybe only have like one chance to push and get the ball into the box and make the correct pass. I don't think he would have the opportunity to maybe push forward because the team has changed over the past 3 years. I just think the winners like Rodrigo, Hazard, Vinicius would drop deep, and they would try to dribble their way out of the trouble and make the pass.
Yeah, but you could also say the same thing about Italy and Roma. With Italy, you've obviously got Lorenzo Insigne, who loves the ball at his feet, and we saw the goal against Belgium where he just dropped deep, ran through a few defenders, and then hit a shot, which was fantastic. Yes, a fantastic goal. But also with Roma, he usually, Lorenzo Pellegrini, he often drops deep to get the ball and drives that up the field, which he's a fantastic player for that. So he achieves these numbers with wingers coming in, dropping deep to get the ball, progressing it up the field, as well as like he gets the crosses in. He's meant to have 6 assists this season, but he's only got 6 expected assists, and that could be attributed to the lack of finishing from Edin Dzeko or some of other Roma strikers like Mayoral. And at Real Madrid, obviously, we've got Benzema, who's much better than Edin Dzeko and would be a lot more clinical than Edin Dzeko. And if we could get that out of Spinazzola, then he would be a fantastic addition to the team.
But don't you think that maybe if we are spending money on fullbacks, it's like wasting our resources as it can be used elsewhere?
Yeah, but as we're going to talk later, Mbappe, it doesn't look like he's going to leave this summer. More likely to be next summer, and I don't know where. Like, obviously, we've raised a lot of funds for this Mbappe move, but if he's going to come for free, then we've got a lot of funds from these moves, like selling Hakimi, or selling Reguilon, selling Marcos Llorente, all these moves. Surely that money's got to go somewhere. We can't waste, this money can't go anywhere. Like, this money just can't disappear out of, suddenly it's all gone and we don't have that money anymore. I think Spinazzola would be a sensible buy.
I think so as well. So how much would you give the signing out of 10 actually?
So Roma are pushing for 40 million, but I don't think there's not going to be too many suitors for that value. So I think it's going to be lower to the fact it's going to be more like 15 to 20 million. Roma would probably be getting for Spinazzola, especially with the injury.
Yeah, actually, I don't think that we should go after him with the injury. I just think we should give him time at Roma to see how he copes after the injury.
Yeah.
And then maybe we could analyze maybe from next season how he plays.
Yeah. next we have Renato Sanchez. Now, I had a discussion of this under your post the other day. I think Renato Sanchez is a generational talent. He won the 2016 Golden Boy ahead of Asensio, Coman, so many other players, and he was fantastic that year in the Euros for Benfica. Obviously flopped at Bayern, did shocking at Swansea, barely got a sniff ahead of like really poor midfielders and got relegated with Swansea. But he's reinvented himself at Lille.
Okay. Yes, and that's correct because he's been so well with Lille that he has kind of got back on the market where big teams would be interested in him. And because it's just for 20 million, I'm seeing his asking price. I think it would be a good signing for us. But I don't think we go after him. I think that we should.
Yeah, with the Renato Sanchez, I think I see more like a Modric, but a more dynamic, a more physical, more quick, a more like powerful Modric in him. Like he's managed 7.75 progressive carries. Modric this season 7.45, which like it shows that he's very similar to Modric in getting the ball, carrying the ball, and I think for just 20 million that we have to go in for him.
And he works so hard in the midfield as well, so I think that would be so beneficial to us.
Yeah, obviously Portugal have had a shocking Euros when they should have been one of the main contenders, and
actually against Germany, when the team played so poorly, I think that's when the coach realized I have to start Sanchez because the midfielders being overrun, they were not keeping possession, and that's why Sanchez was so important to Portugal.
Yeah.
So if he can fit into a structure at Madrid, I think he would be a sensational signing.
Yeah, we saw in the games against France and Belgium, he was the only one that was trying to drive Portugal at the team. They were just trying to pass it here, pass it there, pass it down. That's something we can be a victim to. Like we've been found to just knock it around, but never actually get an opening. Whereas Renato Sanchez tries to actively go forward with the ball, and I think that would be really good for us.
Yes, actually, I think so as well. And I just think that with he can drive past opposition. I think that can open up spaces for maybe players like Odegaard to then make the final pass, or maybe Hazard to then make the final pass. So I think he'd be a good signing. But I have a question for you. Do you think that the last 3 years he had when he struggled, do you think that's a lesson for Camavinga? To know what, I'm going to take my time and make my next decision. I'm not going to jump to a big team. So do you think that that's a lesson for Camavinga, young talented midfielder, just like Sanchez with the hype, etc.? Don't you think that's a lesson for him? Maybe I'm going to stay one more year at Rennes or then go to maybe a smaller side, not a smaller side, but maybe take a step up until he maybe gets a PSG or Madrid.
I mean, I don't think this is like the lure of big clubs is too big for a teenager like Camavinga, who's probably earning basically nothing at Rennes. It's gonna be like the lure of a big club is just too much to just say no. I'm gonna stay another year to develop at Rennes and really learn my trade. Actually, no, I'm gonna move to Real Madrid or PSG and basically get no minutes there, but earn like 100 times more money. Like it's not gonna be like the lure of staying at Rennes is much less than one going to PSG or Real Madrid or Bayern or Man United or wherever. It's not like that. I don't think the lesson that Sanchez learned was, I mean, don't move too quickly, jump the gun way too quickly, but it's not going to stop other young midfielders from doing it because it's always going to happen. Clubs like Rennes don't have enough money to keep these players on board, and I just feel like he's either going to move this summer for, like, I'm hearing at listed as 40 million, which is just like, is pennies for a guy who could be the next generational talent.
Yes, and actually I think it's also down to the asking price as well because, for example, let me give you an example with Jude Bellingham. His asking price wasn't that high, so he could have maybe go to Dortmund to develop as well. So, I think Real is asking for maybe 70 million, 60 million for Camavinga. So teams like Dortmund and developing teams won't be interested in him because of the cost.
Yeah, so I think it's just like it's either going straight to Real Madrid and winning a La Liga but not playing much, earning a lot of money, or staying at Rennes, developing and get better. Like ultimately, that's the lure of Real Madrid is way too much for a young midfielder like Camavinga at a small club like Rennes. Rennes is not a big club at this point. They're not even like one of the biggest clubs in France. They are a small club, and I don't think he will stay this summer.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, next we have Dominic Calvert-Lewin, a guy who I've watched very closely this season with Everton. I've been really impressed by him. Towards the back end of the season, his goals have dried up, but at the start of the season, he was simply sensational. He started the season with 10 goals in 10 games, I think it was, which was fantastic. But then the goals dried up later on in the season. He only managed 6 in the last 6 months, I think it was, like from January to May, which is not great. But he obviously got the call up to England, and he looks fantastic for his work rate and his aerial ability.
Okay, yes, actually, he's so good in the air as well, actually, because he's actually a different kind of weapon in case the team is losing. Maybe he can be that big guy in the box to win those balls and lay it down for maybe his teammate to score. But I just think that Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Everton are going to want maybe 80 million, 70 million for him. So he's going to be our backup striker because Benzema is our main guy. I think if you're going to spend that money on a striker, there's only one option, and that's Haaland.
Yeah, and with DCL, I think his work rate is fantastic, his pace, and he makes the defenders work a lot. And alongside Benzema, that might be brilliant, but I just don't think he's good enough in front of goal. Like just shooting one-on-one with the goalkeeper, he's just not good enough at that. He should have 16 goals this season, but he only has 15, and he's not been that great towards the back end of the season, which might concern.
I just think that he is playing number 9. I don't think maybe he can play out on the left. I just think if he was more versatile, he would have been a good option. But he's strictly a number 9, so that's going to be a bit difficult.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to move on to Ben White now. And I think I've watched Ben White this season, and he's been fantastic. Brighton finished 16th, I think they finished, which doesn't represent where Brighton should have finished, which should have been in the top half. I think the strikers let them down all throughout the season. But Ben White, along with the other Brighton defenders, they've only conceded 46 goals. To put that into context, that's less than Leicester, Leeds, Everton and Tottenham. So they should be much higher, and Ben White's been brilliant throughout the season.
Okay, I must admit I haven't seen much of Ben White throughout the years, but I've heard good reviews, like I'm hearing now from you, and the research that I've done, the videos that I've watched. I think he's been quite good. He's also good on the ball as well. I think that's a style that the manager Potter tries to implement, possession-based style.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think he would be a good signing for us. But like I said with Dominic Calvert-Lewin, if you're going to spend maybe upwards of 40 million on a centre back, it should be Koundé, in my opinion. Despite White is good, if we don't have options, because I'm seeing we're interested in Fofana as well. Yeah. I think that's because we are predicting that the Koundé price would be too steep for us to go after him this season.
Yeah.
And maybe if Varane leaves, we would need a cheaper alternative. Maybe White and Fofana, etc. They are alternatives to Koundé.
Yeah, so obviously Ben White last season, 2 seasons ago actually, he played on loan for Leeds in the Championship, and the amount of reviews he got was like amazing. He was wanted by Leeds again, but Brighton weren't willing to sell. Now this season, Brighton are looking to sell him to Arsenal for 50 million. And to be honest, I do believe that is the right price for him. He's been that good this season. Like his passing is just fantastic, and he takes the ball out of the defence, which is an underrated attribute in his play, which is he drives the ball up, and he's like a libero. He drives the ball up from deep, and then plays out wide, and then recovers his position. And that's what Ben White's great at doing.
Okay, so if we can't sign Koundé, do you think that he's a better option than Fofana? Because I've seen Fofana play.
Yeah, it's a tough one because how much are they asking for Fofana?
It's 40 million.
Yeah, I'd rather go for Fofana than Ben White because Ben White's cost more. I think they are roughly the same in terms of ability, and they play similarly as well.
But I think Ben White went to Arsenal as well, so
yeah.
They can come.
So I reckon Fofana's much better option purely because that 10 million less for Fofana is much better than paying the 10 mil extra for Ben White.
Okay, seeing that Ben White's going to Arsenal, would you sign Fofana for 40 or Koundé for 70?
Oh, it's a tough one because I genuinely do rate Koundé a lot. I just think it's a really tough one because our defence right now is really small now. At this point in time, our defence, Nacho's 6 foot, Alaba's 5'11", I think, and if we sign Koundé, he's 5'11" as well. I think he's 5'10" actually. So
I think he's 11.
Yeah, so
5'11", 5'10".
Yeah, so then that's gonna be really, really annoying because out of those, only Militao's 6'3", I think. So
I think we need an aggressive partner at centre back now to partner Alaba. Does White and Fofana have that aggression?
Yeah, White definitely has that aggression. He's a bit like Ruben Diaz in his defending style, where he's more like he really goes for it, and he will go all means necessary. He will go for it, go for the ball. With Fofana, he's more composed and will anticipate the ball and intercept. He's a bit like Pau Torres in that sense.
Okay, I understand, because I think now at this time we need a centre back who is a bit more aggressive because we lost Sergio Ramos and because Alaba was acting centre back and he's not going to be that aggressive defender. Mm-hmm. So I think his partner needs to be someone like Militao. I think he would be a better option to partner Alaba over there because of his aggression.
Yeah. Okay. Next we have Timo Werner. Now, when I first saw this a couple of weeks ago, I thought Carlo Ancelotti's lost his head. What is he doing? I don't know why he's done this. But Timo Werner's actually been better than the goals have shown this season. His work rate, his movement off the ball has been fantastic, and he receives the ball, but he just can't find the back of the net, and I don't think that's worth it. I don't think he's worth it for that much. I mean, am I wrong?
I have to agree with you partially, but I don't see a space for him in the squad, even at number 9 or at left wing, because we have so many options at left wing. Because when I've seen him play, I've seen how good he can open up spaces for his teammates.
Yeah.
He can do that well for Benzema. I just think he'd be a better goal threat than maybe Vinicius. He's more explosive than Hazard at the moment because of Hazard's injury issues. So actually, I think he'd be a good signing. But personally for me, I won't go after him because Chelsea is still going to want to demand a huge cost for him because they paid a lot for him. They will want to recoup some of that cash. I just think if he comes, he's not going to start unless Hazard is injured. Because I'm sure each coach that comes in, they will try to get the best out of Eden Hazard. But I just think even if we sign them, you're hindering Vinicius and Rodrigo their game time. We have too many wide attacking talent. He's not going to start over Benzema.
Yeah, one thing with Werner that you can definitely say is his raw pace is is fantastic, and that's something we don't have in abundance. We only have Vinicius to run past the defenders in against a high line. So say if we're playing Bayern Munich, then we aren't going to get past their defence because we just try and knock it around. There is no way we are getting past their defence, and we saw against Liverpool how clinical Vinicius can be, but I don't think we can count on that too many times this season. So Werner could be a good option just for pace and getting in behind the defence.
Yeah, but speaking of pace, I know later on we're speaking on Mbappe. So if we sign Werner, then we sign Mbappe, that's too many options for that one position. So I just think instead of signing Werner, let's see how the Mbappe transfer unfolds, and then maybe we can analyze the Timo Werner signing maybe next year. But I don't think now is the time for Timo Werner signing.
Okay, next is something that popped up on my radar when I was just looking at Locatelli's stats. Is Donny van der Beek could be an option for Real Madrid if the Varane deal gets to a point where Man United don't want to offer it enough money. And if Man United, so say if Man United only offer like 50 million, we're holding out for 60 million, Man United offer 50 million plus Van der Beek, Real Madrid are willing to accept it. Obviously, Van der Beek has not been one of Ollie's favourite players, that's for sure, and he hasn't played many minutes this season, but he is a fantastic player. He's a fantastic player and he deserves to be a starter for a top European team. What do you think?
Yeah, of course, 50 million plus on the Beek, if that is true, because I haven't seen it at this time. And you told me it came out this morning, so of course I would see it on today. 50 million plus on the Beek, that's a good option because, like I said with Sanchez, we need maybe like one more option as a box-to-box midfielder, or maybe we can get some energy into our midfield. I think 50 million plus Van der Beek, we're saving money because we don't have to go out and sign another midfielder. And at the same time, too, we have maybe more funds to maybe sign like a Koundé or Fofana. So I think that would be a good option.
Yeah, so I remember like 2 years ago, I think it was, where we were reportedly agreed with Donny van der Beek to sign him, but apparently it didn't go through. So I really like Donny van der Beek, and I think he would be an excellent signing as a box-to-box midfielder and as a bit of energy next to Fede. If he gets injured, then it would be a good replacement for Fede. But I just don't think I'd rather get money for Varane than go for just get a player in return.
I understand because he won't start over Fede, but if it's for options and depth in midfield to avoid maybe the players from being tired, then we can go after Fede.
Yeah.
But I don't think Van der Beek would like to be sitting on the bench for a second here.
Yeah. Okay, next we have Nicolo Barella, who's, again, another Italian, who's had a fantastic Euros, scored against Belgium, and he's what he's good at, he's good at, receiving the ball up high up the field and playing even further up the field. So I think Nicolo Barella is a fantastic player. He plays as a Mazzala, which translates to half winger, where he occupies spaces in between the midfield and wing. And I think he's just a nuisance for defenders and midfielders.
Does he like to feature more on the left-hand side or on the right-hand side?
I think he prefers the right-hand side. As you saw against Belgium, he prefers on the right-hand side, and he ran in through the goal, into the goal, and he scored. And I think that's what he's good at, and that could be a nice option for Real Madrid. And I think he would start ahead of Odegaard. I think he's a better player than Odegaard. I
think he's a better player than Odegaard, maybe because he had Inter Milan actually, and he's been playing for the national team even before his Inter Milan days. But if he likes maybe the right-hand side, that's where Odegaard likes to play. That's where he picks up his spaces, Odegaard. So I think if we sign him, I think we're hindering Martin Odegaard without giving him a chance to show how talented he is.
Yeah.
So I think maybe we could try Odegaard for one more year, because at this time, Barella, actually, Barella would be so expensive because of Inter Milan winning the league, because of Italy potentially winning the Euros. I think that he won't come cheap. So maybe we could analyze our Barella signing, maybe if Odegaard doesn't work out, but I'm hoping that Odegaard works out. He's going to save us a lot of money
Yeah.
in the future.
I mean, with Barella, Inter Milan obviously are in really bad financial debt, worse than us, and they are looking to sell some players, but that player's likely to be Hakimi, and I think Hakimi's already accepted the transfer from PSG, so I don't think Inter Milan are ready to just give up more than one of their key players this summer, but I might be wrong. They could need more money to settle the debt.
Yes, of course. And like I said, because they got Hakimi for 70 million, they are not in a dire need to sell at this time. So they will demand maybe a huge cost, maybe the same 70 million, 60, maybe 80, I'm not too sure. But they're going to demand a lot. And at this time, we need to give Odegaard his chance, to show how talented he is. Maybe because just give maybe Odegaard 1 year. Let's see how good he plays. Let's see if he can become that, if he can complement Toni Kroos and Luka Modric. Let's see how well Odegaard can play before maybe we sign another attacking midfielder. What do you think?
Yeah, I think 1 more year for Odegaard. He would obviously fetch us a lot of money if we needed him to, but I think Barella, not this season. No one's going to be coming in for Barella this season anyway. I don't think, apart from maybe Liverpool might because of their midfield issues, but no one else is realistically going to have the money to go in for Barella this season. So I think we do have the opportunity to just wait out this season, see what Odegaard can do, then go in for Barella next season if we need him to.
Yeah, of course, because it's not like we're in like a dire need to sign him because we have Odegaard.
Yeah. Okay, lastly, we have Manuel Locatelli, who, again, another Italian, who's had a fantastic Euros. I'm seeing a theme here. And he's been fantastic for Italy and Sassuolo for this whole season. He's a deep line playmaker who just loves to just get the ball up the field. And he's in the top 2% of players for progressive passes, with 7.73 progressive passes in Europe's top 5 leagues, which is ahead of the likes of Kimmich and Modric and Kroos, which is genuinely fantastic. And he plays for Sassuolo. Let's get that right. Sassuolo haven't made Europe just by goal difference. He's also in the top 3% of players who've with goals and assists, so the best goals and assists expected out of CDMs, which is again ahead of the likes of Modric and Kimmich. And obviously, if he comes to Real Madrid, the assists will significantly go up by playing with Benzema. So, what do you think about Manuel Locatelli?
Actually, would he replace Toni Kroos or Casemiro in the 11? Let's just say he's coming and he's going to start the first game of the season. I know he's good. He's good at a passer, and Toni Kroos is a good passer as well. So then we have Casemiro playing in defensive midfield. Then we have Modric who can play deep as well. So do you think that he was slotted as a replacement for them?
I don't think he'd I don't think he'd replace Casemiro, but I do think he could definitely replace Toni Kroos. And Toni Kroos, the other day, I think it was yesterday, he announced that he would be leaving Real Madrid, likely to be leaving Real Madrid in 2023, which gives 2 more years of Toni Kroos' service. And I think Locatelli is perfect to replace Toni Kroos. He's a perfect replacement. He's not that mobile, so he's just like Toni Kroos. He's fantastic in just finding those simple passes and those incisive passes, just like Toni Kroos. He's fantastic in getting goals and assists when we need to, just like Toni Kroos. And he's fantastic at just finding the back of the net. He scored 2 goals, I think it was 3 goals actually, at Euro 2020. And he knows where the back of the net is. So I think he'd be a fantastic replacement for Kroos.
Yes, and I don't think we'd expect him to play the same way as Toni Kroos. Like I said, when we are replacing Modric one day and Toni one day, I just think we need to have like a new style of football, because we cannot expect a player to come in and maybe play like how Toni used to play, or expect players like Martin Odegaard to replace Modric, because they're not the same kind of player. So I think if we sign a player like Locatelli, because these are all linked actually, because if we sign Van der Beek, I don't think we're gonna sign Locatelli.
Yeah.
If we sign Berla, I don't think we're gonna sign Locatelli. So I just think that we need like a variation of talent, maybe to have like a new style of play, because we cannot expect to play the same style of football that we played 2 years ago when we don't have Toni or Luka Modric.
Yep. Okay, that's the end of this section. We'll be talking about Mbappe next. Let's get right into this. Mbappe, lastly, last section of the podcast, and L'Equipe reported that Mbappe rejected a contract offer from PSG, and also he said he would not be renewing the contract anytime soon. This gives Real Madrid another foot to stand on. What do you think?
Yes, it gives us leverage, because I think it's going to make a sign of bargain cost, because he has one year, PSG will be forced to sell, and they knew he's not going to sign another contract. I think they will be forced to sell. How much do you think he's going to go for?
So it was from a much less reliable source than L'Equipe, but they said it would be 125 million, which at his age, at what he's done already in his career, 125 million is a bargain buy, and it should not be sniffed at. It should be go straight in for the kill, get that money in, give that money to PSG. Let's get that deal done.
Okay, I actually think that if we can sign Hazard for 100 when he has 1 year, I think Mbappe for 125. I think that would be a good deal.
Yeah, I mean, the question now is, should we waste that money? Well, I don't want to say waste, actually. Should we spend that money this summer for 125 million, or wait next summer for free? And it's a tough one, because realistically, I'd rather get him in now, because if Benzema suddenly diminishes in quality and we don't have Mbappe here to play up front, then what are we going to do? Mariano Diaz is not gonna replace Benzema. So it's going to be a really tough season, and I think it has to be this summer or never. Ultimately, I mean, that might be a bit overreactive, but realistically, we have to get him in now.
Yeah, I think if we wait until next year, we're still going to have to give him a huge signing on bonus fee, agent fees as well. I think if we sign up with him, his contract's going to be way too high, in my opinion. I think we'd be forced to offer him a high contract, because there will be other teams interested, maybe like Liverpool, or I don't know who else will be interested. But if he comes in on a free, that's for sure he's going to demand such a high contract.
Yeah, obviously other teams aren't particularly interested. Only Liverpool right now is interested, which is really, really weird to me, because other teams, Chelsea are interested in Haaland, Man City are interested in Haaland, but no one else is interested in Mbappe apart from Liverpool, which really puzzles me, because
That's because cost is a bit too steep, actually. Don't you think that if he becomes available on a free transfer, there'll be many teams willing to offer him a big wage?
I mean, Man City definitely would be able to do that. They've basically got a limitless bucket of money, unlike us. We are in debt, and this is a luxury ultimately, being able to afford it. But after many years of selling our top prospects, surely it's got to come to something eventually. And yeah, I think selling Hakimi, Reguilon, Llorente, all these players eventually has to lead to something big. And this Mbappe transfer is the big thing that's going to happen.
Yes, that's one they've been waiting for. I think Haaland has just come on the market maybe like last year as well. That's when everyone started jumping on the Haaland bandwagon. Um, but I think Mbappe has been like a target for so long. We've only sell players to have money for Mbappe. That was the plan maybe 2 years ago. So I think that Mbappe we have to sign him to appease, like if Florentino wants to sign him, maybe to appease the fans, first of all, and get us back on that winning mentality, get back those star players at Madrid, maybe for sponsorship deals, etc. Because Mbappe is going to bring in more than just his quality on the pitch.
Yeah. Do you think if we sign Mbappe next summer for free, should we sign some other wingers to help us this season?
Well, that's actually a good one, but when we sign another winger and Mbappe comes in, then it comes like, what space does that winger have on the pitch? Unless he's a right winger that can contribute on the right wing, I don't think we should sign another left winger. We have too many left wing options. Because if we, for example, let me just show an example for you. If we sign, let's say, Insigne after a good Euro tournament with Italy, when Mbappe comes, where is he going to play? We have to look at that as well. If we sign a player, it's on the right hand side.
We don't necessarily know what formation Ancelotti's going to play. We don't know yet that Ancelotti is even going to play wingers. I mean, it's very likely that he is, but we don't even know that yet. And it could all be leading up to this Mbappe transfer, playing two up front. And we don't know. Ancelotti's a more dynamic guy. He can change his formation, which is nice to have because it creates a confusion with the other team. But with Mbappe, where would he fit with all these wingers? It has to be right wing, realistically, and because there's no other players, realistically, Asensio, best position, in my opinion, is Cam, and Rodrigo, he still needs time to develop. Marvin, I think we are going to sell him. I don't think he's realistically got a future here, especially with Florentino looking to sell him to get some more funds. So Mbappe on the right, left doesn't really make sense because we've got so many players, like you said, Hazard, Vinicius, all these players on the left that could play there, and Mbappe on the right, and it works perfectly.
Well, don't you think that Mbappe would settle for because he wants to play on the left wing? Don't you think if it's Zidane still the coach at Madrid, if Zidane tells him you're going to play on the right wing today, I don't think that he can play much, but now because it's a coach like Ancelotti, I think Mbappe might demand, I want to play that way. And I think we'd have to give in to it because I think he would be instantly become like one of our main guys when he comes. So don't you think he's gonna settle and say, what, it's hard at left wing this and this years. I don't mind playing on the right wing. I think he's gonna come and demand a spot in the team and where he plays, I think we'd have to give in because
I don't think he would, to be fair. I don't think he would because Ancelotti, even if his ability may be questioned over the last few years, the amount he's done in the game, it can't be questioned. He's won 3 Champions Leagues. He won La Decima. He is one of the greatest managers in Real Madrid's history just for winning La Decima. He's won multiple league titles in multiple leagues. His ability cannot be questioned, and I don't think even Mbappe can question that. When he first came, he demanded it from Ronaldo, and I think he could do the same with Mbappe. I don't think Mbappe will cause a fuss like that.
I think the issue was with Ronaldo was that he actually allowed them to play in their preferred positions, and he gave them the opportunity to have the success in their preferred positions. Don't you think that with Mbappe, he didn't tell Cristiano, we need you on the right wing, because we signed Bale and Bale can play on the left, because Bale barely played on the right wing until he came to Madrid. I don't think he had a choice but to play on that side because of Ronaldo and Benzema centre forward, because Bale actually played his last year as played on the centre forward. I don't think he had a choice but to play there. But with Mbappe now, he's going to come to the team. He's going to know, well, I'm better than Hazard. I'm better than Vinicius. I think it's because we have to build a team with Mbappe and Benzema, and then the other players will have to fit in somewhere else because Mbappe will be our main guy.
I mean, this could be a challenge for Florentino in that saying in the contract, okay, next season you will be playing at right wing when Benzema ultimately diminishes in quality, which could happen at any moment. Let's not forget that he's 34 at this point, so it could happen at any point. When Benzema diminishes in quality, you go up front, everyone's happy. And that should be what Florentino puts into the contract, as well as all the other clauses, wages, all that stuff.
Yeah, I understand what you mean, but I mean it's a bit difficult to see what's going on in his head actually, because we know that he's maybe a kind of a demanding player. He wants to be the main guy. He says that in a lot of interviews. I want a project to be built around me, where we can have success. I just think it's the words he used, which gives in a lot about him. He's going to come in. He's going to demand a lot, because even at PSG, with Neymar there, he knew that Neymar had intricacies. He knew that maybe he can't be the main guy. I don't think if he had come in like 3 years ago with Ronaldo still there, he's not going to demand the left wing spot. But now I think he's coming in with more leverage. Seeing the season we had, where we didn't win any titles and we struggled for goals, I think he has a leverage over us.
And ultimately, if he does ask for it, I think it is deserved. I don't think Vinicius and Hazard, they have not had a good season at all. Whereas, Asensio, as much as people can criticise him for going invisible in some games, he is sometimes the main spark in this team. And Rodrigo as well, like he can go invisible in some games, but his crossing ability is underrated, and he's very. Those two players, Asensio and Rodrigo, if you can start getting some output out of them, it's very good. Hazard, you can't rely on all the time due to his knees, and with Vinicius, I mean, 3 years it's been, and still we can't get a consistent output out of him, which is concerning.
Yes, and that's it, because while we were struggling, Mbappe has been scoring goals and playing in big matches for PSG and doing well for the French national team, despite not having the best of years. He has been scoring the goals for 3 years while we were struggling. So I just think that he has so many leverage over us now. I just think, personally for me, when he comes, I don't mind making him the star of the team, because he's shown over the past 3 years that he can be that main guy, that the team can look to for goals and maybe inspiration. So I just think that I won't mind maybe losing like a Rodrigo or a Sensi or Vinicius to sign Mbappe, because we don't know if Vinicius or Rodrigo in 5 years are going to be a main guy scoring maybe 15 to 20 goals a season. We don't know that. But we do know that Mbappe is going to do it, or maybe even get to 30, 35. We know he has that potential. He's been showing it. So that's why I would willingly maybe lose Vinicius or Rodrigo, as much as I love them and I think they're good players for Madrid. If we're going to lose them to get Mbappe, if they're not going to be happy with their role in the team, playing out of position, I think that's a loss we have to take, because Mbappe will be our main guy if he comes, and he deserves it because of his performances.
Yep. One last thing before we end the podcast. If Mbappe comes in, do you reckon Benzema would do what he did with Ronaldo and adapt to Mbappe?
It's a bit different now, because Benzema has shown he can be the main guy. It's not like when Ronaldo left and Mbappe came in immediately with the talent he has. I just think that Benzema has shown that, you know what, I can be the main guy to score the goals. I am be the one taking the penalties. So I think it's difficult to say that Benzema is going to step aside. I think what we can do, we can maybe have like more creative players in the team to like a service for these two players. For example, you can say Mbappe on the left, Benzema on top, maybe Odegaard to have that creative spark behind them, or on the other side, to have more options doing the work to provide these chances. Because yes, as much as Benzema is going to drop deep and give Mbappe chances to score, I don't think he's going to step aside and say, I'm going to be second for them now because you're here.
Yeah.
Benzema has shown that he can be the main guy.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, so that's the end of the podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed. thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me as well. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye bye.